we only have about 35 minutes before we have to move on, so this is going to be quick. Okay, gentlemen, make friends later, please. Thank you. So we're talking about nuclear dangers here. We have regionally focused nuclear dangers. I would invite all of the panelists in about 5 minutes, to 7 max, and I got my stopwatch here, to 5 to 7 minutes. It's going to have to be short, okay? We have 35 minutes for the whole thing, and I would like at least some questions. So talk about, please, the nuclear dangers in your region, and we're here to talk about new nuclear dangers. So anything new in your region or new generally you'd like to, I mean, new is good. We have Rakesh Sood from India, Distinguished Fellow, Observatory Research Foundation. David Danieli from Israel, former Deputy Director for Policy, Israel Atomic Energy Agency. Talat Masood, former Secretary of Defense Production in the Ministry of Defense of Pakistan. And Vladimir Shkolnik of Kazakhstan. So let me start with India, then Pakistan, then Israel, to keep the tension intact. Please, sir. I was told 6:10 by your employee. Okay, good. 6:10, I got 6:10, you're overruled, Paulo. Okay, let's go, please.
Well, thank you, and let me also thank Pugwash and our host, the government of Kazakhstan here, for inviting me to this particular conference. You know, there are two ways of dealing with this kind of thing. One is that we can look at the effects, and you can have a listing of dangers and things like that. And the other is to look at the reasons behind, look at the causes behind. And sometimes if you can't analyze the ailment, then I don't think you can prescribe the right kind of solution to it. So even though the chair has said, you know, focus on this region or that region, but I think that that is something which is a mere listing, and that probably doesn't do justice to the complexity of fundamental changes that are underway that we see. And I'd just like to flag those in the few minutes that I have. I think a lot of stuff that we learned about nuclear issues, deterrence issues, and so on, was essentially learned in terms of a very different kind of a period. It was the bipolar period, it was the superpower period, and so on. And so whatever the US and the Soviet Union, they mirrored each other in so many ways. They were both the great hegemons, the leaders of two military alliances, all the rest of it. And all other nuclear issues were kind of brushed under the carpet. So wherever you had a convergence of interests of the two major powers, the US and the USSR, things moved forward, whether on a bilateral front or on a multilateral front. And I think what we need to first of all face up to is that that has in many ways changed, despite the fact that the US and Russia account for 90% of the weapons, we know that. But nonetheless, the overall complexity of the issue has changed. Why? Because I think the geopolitical center of gravity has moved from the Euro-Atlantic to the Indo-Asia-Pacific region. And it's a very different kind of a world out there. It's a much more crowded geopolitical space there. To add to it, there is a second tide of change that is also overtaking us, and that is the economic shift towards the Indo-Asia-Pacific. To add to this, you have one other major change which we need to focus on. We used to define nuclear stability in the context of two superpowers of a nuclear dyad. We continue to look at things in the same manner, and I think that time is gone. We have to look at things because these are issues which are no longer limited to dyads, they become chains. So when you start looking at nuclear chains and you start looking at stability in the context of a chain, it becomes much more complex and much more difficult. Our vocabulary, the jargon that we are used to, doesn't do justice to it. And I think this is perhaps the first element of new nuclear dangers, as we understand from the title of this conference, that I think we need to look at. So if you look at these three elements of change, I think we have to look at it from this context. And if this were not enough, let me just add two more final points before I close. One is that nuclear weapons now reflect a technology which is 70 years old. So it's a very different, it's no longer the situation that existed in the 60s when the NPT was negotiated, or so on, or even in terms of the CTBT, which eventually we keep talking about the fact that it was negotiated in Geneva, but which remains actually a fallacy because it was not negotiated in Geneva, it was finally negotiated in New York. The CD was bypassed. But anyway, that is one element. So we are talking about a technology which is today a more than 70-year-old technology. And to add to that, you've got new technologies that have come up. The whole developments that have taken place in missile defense, that have taken place in conventional precision weapons, hypersonic glide vehicles, etc., which are impacting on the way nuclear threats are perceived and evolved. So what do we have here? We have, A, differences in technology, and secondly, you have asymmetries. Asymmetries in arsenals. I mean, if you look at the North Korean arsenal on one hand and the US arsenal on the other, there is a whole spectrum of difference on that. So you have asymmetries in terms of arsenals and asymmetries in terms of doctrines, and which makes for a very different kind of a recipe as compared to when there was basically a symmetry, both in terms of arsenals and in terms of doctrines, and a bipolar symmetry that existed, and therefore a nuclear dyad. I'm not saying that was easy, but what I'm saying is, compared to that, this is a far more difficult set of circumstances with which to deal with new nuclear dangers in this particular time frame. And I think when we start looking at this and we start addressing asymmetries, we will find that the conventional notion of nuclear arms control, as we understood it in terms of numbers and reductions of strategic launch vehicles, etc., is just not going to work. We have to look at things very differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Talat.
Aye.
You're next, yeah.
Well, my fellow panelist, Mr. Sood has taken a global view, and I think this was very correct in his part. So what I would do is I'll take a more regional view, and what I see as a Pakistani, the dangers which are inherent, the nuclear dangers which are inherent in South Asia. So firstly, I think one would be worried as a citizen of the world in a way, all of you, that whether a nuclear power does take certain measures like a responsible nuclear state in terms of its safety and security. I think in that context, I would say that as far as Pakistan is concerned, it has taken all the appropriate measures that are necessary in order to sort of ensure the safety of its nuclear establishments, of its nuclear weapons, and so on. Of course, there are always challenges, but the fact remains that Pakistan has genuinely, and when it comes to safety matters, where there were certain weaknesses, Pakistan has been very forthright in sort of getting technology from the US, and US has been very helpful in that sense in providing Pakistan the technology to make sure that the safety standards are as good as any in the world. Then I think in terms of security, Pakistan has taken extraordinary measures to ensure both in terms of technology, the security aspect, as well as also having a manpower which is highly reliable and goes through the same procedures that are prevalent more or less in all the advanced countries, advanced nuclear powers. So I think this is one aspect which in the past may not have been as foolproof as it is today, and this gives great satisfaction to us as a Pakistani. And it should do the same, and I think it is being recognized also internationally. Then I think the other point which I would like to highlight is the volatility of the line of control at this present moment. You know, the thing is that for the last 1 year, and I would not like to blame India only, because I think this line of control volatility is an action and reaction phenomena. But obviously Pakistan blames India that they initiated it, and then Pakistan responds, or India would say that Pakistan initiated it, and then India responds. But the fact remains that the volatility of the LOC sometimes, and it has been like this for the last 1 year. I'm talking of the volatility of the line of control on Kashmir, which is quite a area which is very sort of has been always in dispute, and at the moment it is very important, and especially for nuclear powers, that the line of control gets stable. So we are only hoping that the line of control becomes more stable. Although we feel that sometimes this policy is being pursued on purpose in order to deflect attention from certain domestic or international issues. But I would say that whatever be the reasons for it, the fact remains that it is in the interest of India and Pakistan to bring stability to the line of control. Then I think it is also extremely important, and I think it is fundamental, that India and Pakistan should talk in this, because Prime Minister Modi, after certain events, does not talk to Pakistan, in the sense that when two nuclear powers do not talk, then it becomes extremely dangerous and difficult, because you do not know what the other is thinking, and you are not able to sort of really bring about any reduction in the tensions that lie on the line because of several factors between the two countries. So I think it is only logical, and I would also like to give an example, although one would say that probably one should not bring those examples because the world has changed. But I think we should learn from the past experience. Even during the worst of periods, the Soviet Union and America continued to sort of talk, even if they were not talking on anything else. They were talking on nuclear issues, at least to make sure that there is no misunderstanding. And I think the same I would feel that it is very necessary on the part of India to sort of initiate and engage in, which Pakistan for a very long time has been wanting to talk to India, especially on issues which pertain to nuclear issues and also other security issues. Then I think we also need to ensure that certain doctrines like the cold start doctrine is something which can be, which is not truly incompatible with being a nuclear power, in the sense that if you are going to really truly implement the cold start doctrine, then Pakistan would respond, and probably has been trying to respond through tactical nuclear weapons, which is again a very dangerous thing to happen. So I would say that India should, if there was an engagement and if they were talking, I would say that Pakistan would definitely try to emphasize that a cold start doctrine is incompatible with a nuclear power, because the response from Pakistan would be such that it could lead to some very destabilizing situations and could be dangerous. So not that I'm in favor of tactical weapons, but what I'm saying is that this is in response to the Cold Start doctrine. And so if the Cold Start doctrine is abandoned, then it's very much possible that Pakistan could also take reciprocal measures to bring stability. Then we also have to understand that no two nuclear powers are so close to each other as India and Pakistan in terms of time. That means if, God forbid, if there was any decision to be taken, there is a question of 5 to 6 minutes. So it's a very different phenomena to other nuclear countries, and it's a very dangerous thing. And this also has to be taken into consideration as to how, how do you sort of handle such a critical situation in 5 to 6 minutes. Then I'm afraid this is something which I think the international community, apart from India and Pakistan, are extremely concerned. This is regarding the Lashkar-e-Taiba, or for that matter, other jihadi groups. You see, it is very much possible that they could, in order to sort of create a situation, launch an attack on India, in anywhere in India, because after all, the border, despite the fact that it's very well guarded and so on and so forth, but nonetheless, it's always easy to penetrate. And if supposing that happens, and then what happens? I mean, India has said that it will take, obviously it will react, and it will take what they call a limited offensive action. Now, if that happens, then Pakistan would also retaliate, and that could escalate into something much more serious. So my view is that we don't have to, in a way, encourage these jihadi groups to commit an offense of this nature, and try to develop an understanding in which we should be able to control, ensure that if anything like this happens, then there has to be a level of cooperation at a very critical stage, instead of trying to react and being, in a way, manipulated by the jihadi groups to engage in a very major conflict. This is exactly what they will be wanting to do, and this is exactly what should not be done. So I think this again requires that the two countries engage in a dialogue. And then I would also like to mention here that as far as Kashmir is concerned, there is a definite, at the moment, uprising and resentment in the valley, and especially in the south, I think, of Kashmir. And to blame Pakistan for it would be very unfair. And I think the international community knows that. And I would say that it would be so much wiser on the part of India and Pakistan to engage in a dialogue in order to sort of settle the Kashmir issue. And it is not that something which is impossible. If countries like India and Pakistan, which have thousands of years of civilization, if they cannot engage in a dialogue and come to some sort of an understanding on a problem which has bedeviled them for the last 70 years, I don't see any reason why they can't. And especially now that both India and Pakistan are about to complete their 70 years. They have completed their 70 years. And I think it is time that they engage and talk and try to find answers. I know I would have liked to say one or two other things, but my time is limited. So I'll come to this, to the end of it, and I would say that we need the support of the international community in bringing about greater stability in South Asia.
Thank you. Sir, our time is so limited. David, please.
Thanks, Cliff. I'm thankful to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan and certainly Secretary General of Pugwash for inviting me to attend this general conference. My apology for the bad throat. I flew in this morning, and that's probably the outcome of it. As Israel, I believe so, neither blame Pakistan nor India and I assume that you had enough Middle East stuff this afternoon. I'll be speaking globally. I take the scope of this very wide definition, nuclear dangers, as the retention and the threat of use, or as a previous speaker put it, existence and use. Certainly, about the retention of nuclear weapons, I try to hurry up my comments. Some will be sketchy. For the time being, the retention of nuclear weapons is a reality, if we like it or not. Even former President Barack Obama made his preference, who had made clear his preference, predicted his speech in Prague 2009, that he will not see in his lifetime a world without nuclear weapons. Mind you that he is much younger than me. But this journey, the nuclear weapons, has been set free in 1945. And since then he has been roaming around in 5 continents, and according to recent last news, he has no intention to be sealed off again in his battle for the time being. Let's look at the record. I think that Mr. Bruce Blair spoke about the glass half full or half empty. 72 years, we had no additional use of nuclear weapons, in spite of their very extensive prevalence, even in the heydays of the Cold War. So August the 8th, 1945 is, I hope so, it remains so, is the last time that we had a nuclear weapon explosion. About the testing, in the definition, not in any definition that we would wish to be or whatever, it's a nuclear weapon test explosion and any other nuclear explosion. That's the way the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty defines testing. Since 1996, I believe the French in Mororoa were the last to carry out underground nuclear explosives, and the planet has been quiet in this sense. So we've been celebrating 20 years. About proliferation, certainly many express their views, and I certainly agree with that. The fewer the better. Let me remind you that by early 60s, the Kennedy administration predicted that within 10-15 years there will be around 20 nuclear weapons. Luckily, that hasn't happened. The eminent political theorist Hans Morgenthau famously said, referring to nuclear weapons, that people do not fight because they have arms. The first recorded murder, the book of Genesis, the Bible, Cain struck his brother Abel to the ground with a stone. A stone with a stone. A stone was probably the tool of murder, and there was nothing wrong with this stone. Had there been around an arbitrator, a mediator to guide the 2 brothers out of this conflict, so much for the better. How different are the basics of politics among nations from Cain and Abel, fatal biblical conflict? Apparently not that much. Meaning, in my view, we have to strike a balance between targeting arms to put the blame on and humans. Humans possess arms, humans may order their use. And here lies the greatest danger of all, fanatic rulers led by extreme ideologists. What could have happened, for example, if Adolf Hitler had got the bomb first? Could you imagine such a situation? Obviously, reckless nuclear rhetoric, miscalculation or escalation in spiral of antagonism or distrust. I don't want to touch here all kind of remedies to human and technical failure. This has been extensively discussed by other experts, and all sorts of analysis exists on that. We envisage, certainly, and that was amply reflected in the course of the day, we envisaged a world without nuclear weapons. And there have been, some other speakers have put some question marks on the whole issue and try to shed light from different angles about that. Shall we then breathe a big sigh of relief? Undoubtedly. Where is the mechanism to ensure that major conflicts remain non-nuclear? The complete disappearance of nuclear weapons, will they make great power conflicts more likely? Some would say yes. And the common sense suggests that in the run-up to a war itself, every previous nuclear power would make a rapid dash to reconstruct their nuclear forces in the shortest amount of time. Some will do it quicker than others. The incentives to end the conflict by eliminating others' nuclear weapons making capabilities would be great. Use it or lose it mentality would prevail. That could be. I believe I echo here some other previous comments, that is also something that one has to be, to put his mind into it, because certainly we are not talking about a panacea. Tomorrow morning we'll wake up to a world without nuclear weapon. So in the balance that we try to strike between venting our frustration, anger, fears on arms, exclusively on arms, and neglecting human aspects, how to educate, how to consult, how to advise, how to lead nations to live peacefully, to resort their conflicts by peaceful means. As much as we talk about repudiation of arms, could we talk about repudiations of wars, denial of conflicts, conflict resolution theories to be developed, had so much attention and energies would put in to these ideas, and I do have Middle East in my mind, resolving conflicts peacefully among nations, among peoples, and here is a great responsibility of the international community, and the Pugwash certainly is an important institution, organizations in this realm to advance human race to resolving their conflicts in peaceful means. That would be the additional and the heavy weight that we could carry to eliminate nuclear dangers. Thank you.
Thank you. Vladimir, please, some comments.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I will try to be very briefly, and for that I will try Russian language. Что делать для того, чтобы уменьшить угрозы, прежде всего, в нашем регионе? Для казахстанцев это вопрос очень простой. Для нас все ясно. Значит, достаточно посмотреть, что мы сделали за последние 25 лет. Докладываю, что создана мощная договорная правовая база и приняты все необходимые законы и нормативные акты, которые регулируют деятельность страны, политику страны в области нераспространения ядерного оружия, оружия массового поражения, ну и все другие аспекты, связанные с защитой и охраной окружающей среды, и все аспекты, вытекающие из опасности использования вот этих современных технологий. Конечно же, все меры приняты по биологическому оружию, химическому оружию, подписаны все конвенции. Основа режима нераспространения, его надо соблюдать. Это фундаментальная основа, на которой держится безопасность не только нашего региона, и всех регионов. Это 3 системы. Первая система – это контроль и учет ядерных материалов. Он должен быть жестким и строго соответствовать международным нормам. Это контроль экспорта ядерных материалов, материалов двойного назначения и чувствительных технологий. Должна быть обеспечена физическая защита ядерных материалов, ядерных объектов. Новое время диктует новые вызовы. Появились проблемы cyber security. Особенно опасна эта деятельность в отношении ядерных объектов, ядерных систем. Ну, ко всем системам опасны, системам жизнеобеспечения, электроэнергетики, нефти, газопроводов. Но к ядерным системам особенно опасно. Это новые вызовы, в котором мы, ученые, которые входят в комитеты погорские, прежде всего, должны серьезно беспокоиться и дать нашему руководству соответствующие рекомендации, соответствующие технологии, как защитить всех нас, весь мир от этих новых вызовов. Я хочу вам сказать, что создан Казахстанский погорский комитет при Национальной академии естественных наук. Туда вошли около 3 десятков ведущих ученых в области биологии, химии, ядерных технологий, физики, ядерщики. Сюда вошли сейсмологи, вошли специалисты в области компьютерных технологий, все, что касается cyber security. И комитет начал работать, я надеюсь, что он внесет большой вклад в укрепление и работу нашего комитета погорского движения, юбилей которого вот мы по существу отмечаем. Значит, хотел бы буквально 2 цифры сказать. Вот о Казахстане много говорилось, его политике, о высочайшем вкладе, который он внес, страна, ее лидер, президент Назарбаев, в обеспечение режима нераспространения ядерной безопасности в мире. Вот когда мы говорим о том, что Казахстан добровольно вывел с территории 4-й по мощности ядерный потенциал, вот очень просто, чтобы представить, что это такое, я вам скажу, это более 50 тысяч бомб по мощности, которые сброшены на Хиросиму, 20 килотонн. Более 50, около 55 тысяч бомб добровольно выведено с территории Казахстана. Значит, проведены громадные работы по ликвидации военной ядерной инфраструктуры, потому что оружие – это не только оружие, это и его испытания, это и система подготовки, и много-много чего другого. Решены проблемы безопасности и ядерной безопасности нашего крупнейшего полигона Семипалатинска. Кстати, ядерное оружие испытывалось не только, и произвели взрывы на Семипалатинском полигоне, еще на нескольких площадках в нашей стране. Обеспечена безопасность радиоэкологическая. Вот эта инфраструктура ядерная и ученые, которые остались и работали здесь многие десятки лет в Казахстане, многие из них остались в Казахстане, и все свои знания, все работы были переведены на то, чтобы, с одной стороны, убрать вот это huge nuclear heritage, убрать это ядерное наследие с нашей территории, обезопасить, и переведены на мирные рельсы. Мы используем ядерную инфраструктуру, ее развиваем для того, чтобы знания использовать для развития мирной атомной энергетики. Мы выполняем работы для наших японских коллег, Евросоюза, Соединенных Штатов, Российской Федерации в области обеспечения ядерной безопасности для мирной атомной энергетики, для новых атомных станций. Вот это тот уже вклад военных ученых в мирное развитие вот этого направления. Хотел бы сказать, что у вас была возможность получить, кто не получил, наверное, получит. Здесь мы выпустили к конференции книгу о работах, проведенных на Семипалатинском полигоне, 3-томник. Там много написано из того, что я мог бы вам в течение нескольких недель рассказывать, так что почитайте, будет очень полезно. Значит, ну, как говорят мои друзья военные, report is over. Thank you very much.
Obviously, authoritarianism has taken over in my country of America. So we have time for 3 questions. We'll take them all at once, and then we're going to be done. Please, ma'am. Do we have a microphone here?
Thank you. Sharon Squassoni from the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington, D.C. Wow, that was a really interesting panel. I heard a lot of different things. I have a few quick comments, kind of questions. Rakesh, Sood, asymmetries and multipolarity, that's about 25 years old. What I was hoping to hear was how some of the developments like doctrines escalating to de-escalate, how the introduction of nuclear submarines in South Asia, how enhanced fissile material production on both sides post the US-India nuclear deal have affected relations, but also maybe some movement towards transparency. I mean, both countries participated in the nuclear security summits. You both have centers of excellence. You know, is there any potential there to move forward on confidence building measures? For Talat, Masood, when you mentioned that Pakistan is quite confident in its nuclear safety and security standards, the same standards as elsewhere, I tend to worry about that because the United States is supposed to have great standards, and oops, we've had a lot of problems, not just on the technical end, but the human part of it also.
Sorry, could I ask you to just keep it to 2 questions here, because
Okay, then finally for David
really
Danieli.
squeezed. That's the 3rd one.
Yeah, right.
No.
Glass half full in the human element. Don't some technological developments like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, the fact that we have so much access to information and that the decision-making time frame has shortened so significantly, doesn't that really shift, doesn't that create greater dangers for the human element? Sorry, those are big questions.
Okay, I had one in back over here, please, sir. And then one over here, and then that'll be it. Yeah, that's you, yep. Glad you're standing up.
Is it working? Yes. Danieli, in a comment, nuclear dangers. If we take the last 70 years, more people have been killed by unruly governments fighting each other using legal and illegal means. And we only have to go to the Middle East now, but Pyongyang in North Korea, I mean, there are lots of examples of mass bombings and mass killings. And I'm a surgeon from Sri Lanka and Pugwash, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, we've had our problems. And it's very interesting that I think what we have to look at is the and Pugwash may have to look at the development of encouraging ethical systems and psychological strategy examination of governments so that we can try and prevent conflict. And I will turn this title on its head, Nuclear Dangers. As a surgeon, I know nucleus can be the nucleus of a cell, which is of course damaged by radiation. But the time is coming when it is going to be possible to introduce genetic material, genes, into the foodstuffs. Now something has happened in the eggs in Denmark or wherever it is now, but Holland. But
Sorry, sir, I feel like Frankenstein here, but we got to be out of the room in 3 minutes. Can you just, do you have a question?
But the comment is that the importance of enforcing the ethics and behavior of governments in a proper way with consultation can help to prevent new nuclear dangers.
Thank you. You have a 3-second question here. Just stand up and yell. That's good. Okay. Okay, let's start at this end with David. Everybody's got 1 minute, and we're going to get expelled. Thank you. David, please.
Sharon, the remedies to possible human or technological failures have been analyzed and discussed amply. Countless dissertations have been written on the subject. It should be taken for granted. There's nothing new about it. With every new technological generation, etc. And on the other end, we may assume that still human or technological failures will occur, even with the most advanced valves of safety, etc. So, but by then you from the point of view of legitimizing nuclear weapons in the hands of nuclear weapon states, that's the best way to carry on, to find the best manner how to keep them safe and effective, and that's fine. That's possible. Definitely negate the idea of elimination of nuclear weapons, which have got its own negative aspects as well.
Talat.
Well, I think Pakistan has taken very effective measures for safety and security of the nuclear establishment. And I think Pakistan is more worried about this and more concerned about it. So I think the first country that would be affected if there is any laxity in it would be Pakistan and Pakistanis. So I don't think you should worry about it. It's more of a propaganda, and because they just wanted to target Pakistan as far as safety and security is concerned in order to show that Pakistan is not a responsible state. There may have been an episode of the AQ harm, but that was history. And I think now you can check from all, from your US sources, from other sources, because they keep, all major countries have their intelligence sources in all countries of the world, and especially also in Pakistan. So they know exactly that what are the safety standards, and you be assured that as far as the government is concerned, as far as the military is concerned, they have taken all the measures. The last point is the US and USSR experience. I think you are very right. There are certain areas in which we could draw from that experience, and there is no reason why we should ignore that. And at the same time, I think the first experience that I mentioned is that we should continue to talk with, with each other as the US and USSR did.
Okay. Rakesh and Vladimir, 1 minute, please.
Well, I would tend to, let me start with the US-Soviet experience, but then I think while there may be elements that may be of use, but I think that misses out the basic point that I was trying to make. That means you are insisting on looking at things in a binary fashion, and that is not the way it is going to work. You have to look at it in the form of a nuclear chain. There is no single binary equation here. North Korea is not a binary equation. Between whom and whom? India, Pakistan is not a binary equation. So please, that's precisely the point that I'm trying to make, that when you start looking at nuclear stability, you have to look at it differently. We can learn from past experiences, but we have to adapt them. We have to develop a new vocabulary. We have to develop a new grammar. We have to develop a new, as I said, vocabulary to deal with both the changes that have taken place, the political changes that have taken place, as also the technological changes that have taken place.
Okay. Vladimir, give me your best 30 seconds.
Я призываю всех участников дискуссии, присутствующих, наряду с обсуждением и выявлением проблем, для себя сделать небольшой план, состоящий из конкретных шагов по реальному укреплению режима нераспространения, по реальному укреплению безопасности. И это будет лучшим вкладом. Я хочу сказать, что на фоне всех заявлений Казахстана у нас есть четкий план действий, расписанный на многие годы вперед, о том, что и как делать для того, чтобы обеспечить безопасность. Это может быть опыт использован, пожалуйста, обращайтесь, мы все расскажем, что и как делать. Потому что большие страны, которые нормированы на население, когда полигоны занимают как площадь европейских стран, больше того, что сделал Казахстан, трудно себе представить за такое короткое время. Пожалуйста, давайте все будем конкретно работать и обсуждать шаги каждого из нас каждый год.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.